What happens when love, betrayal, and destiny collide in the darkest of ways? Blood of My Blood Episode 7 promises to take us to a place where every choice comes with a price, and every heartbeat feels like the last chance to hold on. After the shocking events of Episode 6, the story is no longer just about survival, it is about sacrifice, broken trust, and the cruel ways in which fate twists the lives of Julia, Henry, Ellen, and Brian. If you thought Episode 6 was heavy, brace yourself, because Episode 7 might just leave you shattered. The upcoming episode of Blood of My Blood carries the weight of heartbreak, confusion, and devastating consequences. Episode 6 left us with a whirlwind of emotions, Julia surviving a brutal confinement, Brian finally standing up against his father, Henry losing hope after being lied to, and Ellen's looming secret that could change everything. These threads now converge into a storm, and Episode 7 is where the storm begins to destroy everything in its path. The trailer hints at tragedy, and fans know this series never plays gently with its characters. Julia, who endured unspeakable humiliation and cruelty during childbirth, has found a moment of hope with her newborn son. Yet, that hope will be brutally tested. Henry, who was deceived into believing Julia had died, is about to discover the truth in the most heartbreaking way possible. Instead of finding Julia in peace and safety, he will come face to face with her at a moment that feels like the ultimate betrayal, her forced marriage to Lovett. For Henry, this is not just devastating, it is soul-crushing. He has spent episodes fighting for her, longing for her, and refusing to let go of their bond. Now, in his eyes, everything collapses. Henry's journey in Episode 7 will likely be one of anger, grief, and dangerous decisions. The trailer suggests that his inability to understand Julia's circumstances will push him toward darker paths. Rather than fighting for the truth, he will fall into despair, finding comfort in the wrong places. His connection with Seema, the woman at the brothel, is expected to deepen, not out of love, but out of desperation and heartbreak. This is the Henry we feared to see, a man broken beyond repair, unable to distinguish between reality and the lies that surround him. His disillusionment could mark one of the darkest turns in the series, as he surrenders the hope of a future with Julia. Meanwhile, Ellen's storyline builds another layer of tragedy. She discovers she is pregnant, and while this news could have been a moment of joy, it instead sparks fear and panic. The weight of her family's expectations and the looming shadow of her brothers crush her spirit. She knows that carrying Brian's child will put her in an impossible position, one where her honor, her future, and her very survival are at risk. Ellen's desperation is heartbreaking, because unlike Julia, she does not even have the faintest hope of freedom. Instead, she considers the unthinkable, ending her pregnancy before anyone can find out. This is the kind of moral and emotional complexity Blood of My Blood thrives on, forcing its characters into impossible choices that leave viewers divided, devastated, and desperate to see what happens next. Brian, however, remains unaware of Ellen's turmoil. His confrontation with Lovett in Episode 6 was a defining moment, proving that he has the courage to stand up to his father and define himself as something more than the shadow of his lineage. Yet, that victory may be short-lived. The trailer teases that Myrto will intercept Ellen's attempts to reach Brian, hiding her letters and leaving her alone in her suffering. This betrayal strikes at the heart of Brian's journey. Just when he begins to carve a path toward love, honesty, and courage, he is blinded by the manipulations around him. Ellen, abandoned and isolated, may make choices that neither Brian nor the audience can accept without heartbreak. The brilliance of Blood of My Blood lies in its ability to weave personal tragedy with larger themes of family, legacy, and betrayal. Episode 7 will not simply be about one shocking twist, it will be about the unraveling of multiple lives all at once. Julia, Henry, Ellen, and Brian are each standing on the edge of cliffs they cannot see, and when they fall, the impact will be felt across generations. The trailer promises intensity, and if Episode 6 was a storm, Episode 7 will be the thunder that follows, a thunder that shakes the ground, breaks hearts, and reminds us that no one escapes the grip of fate. If there is one thing Blood of My Blood has proven by now, it's that every ounce of hope comes with a crushing cost. Episode 7 looks set to prove this again as Julia finds herself trapped in a nightmare she cannot escape. After enduring the torment of confinement, she barely had time to hold on to the joy of her son's birth before the shadows of Lovett returned to consume her life. For Julia, Episode 7 will be the ultimate test of strength. She has been humiliated, accused, and beaten down by those around her, yet she continues to fight for her dignity. The cruel twist, however, is that the man she longs for, Henry, will not see her truth. Instead, he will see only what Lovett has engineered, a forced marriage that paints Julia as complicit. Henry's heartbreak is central to this unfolding tragedy. Throughout the series, his love for Julia has been his guiding light, the force that drives him to fight against all odds. Yet, in Episode 7, that light is poisoned by lies, misunderstandings, and his own wounded pride. When Henry sees Julia standing by Lovett's side, his soul will fracture. The man who once fought to believe in her will now turn his back, convinced she has chosen another path. It is a devastating blow not only for Henry, but also for viewers who have rooted for this love story since the beginning. And what makes it even more unbearable is knowing the truth, that Julia is a prisoner of circumstance, that her silence is survival, not betrayal. This cruel twist of fate pushes Henry deeper into despair. Instead of staying to uncover the truth, he walks away, leaving Julia to face her demons alone. And where does he go? Into the arms of Seema, the woman who represents both escape and emptiness. Their connection is not born out of passion, but out of brokenness. For Henry, being with Seema is a way to numb the agony that Julia's perceived betrayal has left behind. It is a hollow comfort, and yet, in his pain, it feels like the only lifeline left. The tragedy here is not just about Henry losing Julia, it's about Henry losing himself. The man who could have been Julia's protector, her ally, her partner in survival, becomes a ghost of the man he once was. And while Henry drowns in sorrow, Ellen faces her own storm. Her pregnancy is both a miracle and a curse, a secret that burns like fire in her chest. The fear of her brothers discovering the truth forces her into silence, but silence comes with its own torment. The letters she writes to Brian are desperate cries for connection, for support, for the future they once dreamed of. Yet, in a twist that feels especially cruel, Murto robs her of that chance. By intercepting the letters, he does not just delay their reunion, he changes the course of their lives entirely. Ellen, believing Brian has abandoned her, will make choices that shatter her future. This betrayal is not loud or violent like Lovett's cruelty, but it is equally destructive. Sometimes the quietest lies cause the deepest wounds. Brian, on the other hand, remains in the dark, unaware of the storm building around him. He is still glowing from the courage he found in Episode 6, still hopeful that he can stand tall against Lovett and carve his own destiny. But his ignorance is his weakness. Without Ellen's letters, without knowledge of her pregnancy, he walks a path of false security. By the time the truth reaches him, it may already be too late. The tragedy of Episode 7 is not just in what happens, but in what doesn't happen, the words left unsaid, the letters never read, the chances stolen before they could even be seized. What makes all of this so powerful is the way Blood of My Blood mirrors the core of the Outlander saga. Just like Claire and Jamie's story, this new generation is bound by love, betrayal, and fate. Yet, unlike Claire and Jamie, these characters are not blessed with a thread of hope to guide them. Instead, they walk blind into the storm, unaware of how far they will fall. Episode 7 will not only break hearts, it will redefine the meaning of tragedy in this universe. Fans expecting a moment of relief after Episode 6's heavy narrative will instead find themselves pulled into an even darker abyss, one that promises no easy answers, no gentle resolutions, and no mercy. The brilliance of Blood of My Blood lies in how it makes tragedy feel inevitable, as if every choice the characters make is only tightening the noose around their own throats. Episode 7 pushes this idea to the extreme. Julia's nightmare is far from over. She has already endured shame, torment, and the cruelty of women who saw her as unworthy. She has already fought for the life of her child. And now, she faces the unbearable weight of being forced into marriage with Lovett. For her, this is not just about losing Henry, it is about losing the very essence of her freedom. Julia has always been a character defined by quiet strength, by her refusal to break even when everything around her is collapsing. Yet, in this moment, her silence may cost her everything. To Henry, it looks like betrayal. To the outside world, it looks like submission. But to Julia, it is survival, and that makes her story all the more heartbreaking. Henry, meanwhile, spirals into a place where rage and sorrow consume him. The man who once believed love could conquer anything is crushed by the sight of Julia at Lovett's side. The trailer teases his devastation, and viewers can sense that his heartbreak is only the beginning of his downfall. His descent into the arms of Seema is not just a romantic detour, it is symbolic of his broken spirit. Each time he visits her, he is not seeking love but rather trying to bury the ghost of Julia. Yet, ghosts have a way of haunting the living. No matter how much Henry tries to forget, Julia's face, her touch, her love, will remain etched into his heart. That inner conflict, between love and despair, is what makes his storyline in episode 7 so gut-wrenching. Ellen's journey adds yet another layer of devastation. She is a young woman on the brink of collapse, carrying a secret that could ruin her life. The panic of her pregnancy forces her to confront choices that no one should ever have to make. Her letters to Brian are her only outlet, her only chance to grasp at hope. But the cruel twist of Murto stealing them robs her of that small light. The silence she receives in return breaks her. She begins to believe Brian has abandoned her, that he does not care, that she is truly alone in her struggle. This is the quiet kind of tragedy that cuts deeper than any sword, because it convinces Ellen that she has no future worth fighting for. She contemplates ending the pregnancy, not out of selfishness, but out of desperation. And in that moment, the audience sees the devastating weight of her isolation. Brian's story, though quieter in episode 7, is no less significant. He is still carrying the momentum of his defiance against Lovett, still trying to step into his own identity. But without Ellen's truth, his growth risks being hollow. Brian believes he is finally free, finally shaping his own destiny, but in reality, he is being manipulated and kept in the dark. When the truth eventually reaches him, and it will shatter him. The betrayal will not just come from Ellen's silence but from the realization that others conspired to keep him apart from her. Episode 7 lays the groundwork for this revelation, building the tension so that when Brian finally learns about Ellen's pregnancy, the emotional fallout will be explosive. What ties all of these storylines together is the theme of stolen futures. Julia's future with Henry is stolen by Lovett's schemes. Henry's hope for love is stolen by lies and misunderstandings. Ellen's chance at happiness is stolen by Murto's cruelty. And Brian's growth is stolen by the manipulation of those around him. Episode 7 is not about victory or resolution, it is about loss. It is about watching characters who deserve love, joy, and freedom instead fall deeper into despair. That is why the trailer feels so heavy, so suffocating. It does not promise relief. It promises heartbreak, and it delivers it with a sharp blade. The storytelling here mirrors the very essence of tragedy, characters doomed not because they are weak, but because the world around them conspires against their happiness. And as fans, we cannot look away. We watch, we suffer with them, and we hope against hope that maybe, just maybe, something will turn in their favor. But in episode 7, hope feels like a fragile thread ready to snap. And when it does, the fallout will leave scars that last far beyond this episode. Episode 7 is not just another chapter in Blood of My Blood, it feels like the breaking point where everything the characters have fought for begins to collapse. Julia's resilience, Henry's devotion, Ellen's secret, and Brian's courage all collide in a storm that none of them can escape. The tragedy here is layered, and the trailer makes it clear that no one will leave this episode unscathed. For Julia, the forced marriage with Lovett is a nightmare that strips her of her dignity and her love. To the outside world, it may look like compliance, but viewers know the truth. she is a prisoner, sacrificing herself to protect her child and survive in a world that gives her no mercy. Her silence, her tears, and her desperate attempts to hold on to hope make her one of the most tragic figures in this universe. Henry's arc in this episode is equally devastating. His story has always been about love and longing, about the belief that no matter how dark the world becomes, love can light the way. Yet, in episode 7, that belief is shattered. The image of Julia standing with Lovett destroys him, twisting his love into anger and despair. His retreat into the arms of Seema is not the act of a man moving forward but of a man drowning in sorrow. It is painful to watch because we know Henry's heart still belongs to Julia, but his mind refuses to see past the lies. This inner conflict is the essence of his tragedy, making him a character as compelling as he is broken. Episode 7 cements Henry not as a hero who saves the day but as a man undone by love, betrayal, and his own despair. Ellen's storyline is perhaps the quietest, yet it resonates with an intensity that is hard to ignore. Her pregnancy is a gift twisted into a curse by the fear that surrounds her. Every decision she makes is shadowed by the possibility of ruin. Her letters to Brian, her only cries for help, vanish into silence because of Murdo's cruelty. That silence convinces her that she is alone, abandoned, and forced to carry the burden by herself. This is not just her tragedy, it is Brian's as well. He remains blissfully unaware, robbed of the chance to support her, robbed of the right to know about their child. By the time truth and love finally reach him, it may already be too late. The heartbreaking irony is that both Ellen and Brian want the same thing, but lies and manipulation keep them apart. And Brian himself, though momentarily victorious in his defiance of Lovett, is still a young man caught in the crossfire of family, honor, and love. He has shown glimpses of strength, of becoming his own man, but episode 7 reminds us that even strength has limits when deception surrounds you. His ignorance of Ellen's suffering will haunt him, and the truth, when it finally arrives, will break him just as deeply as Julia's marriage breaks Henry. In many ways, Brian and Ellen are mirrors of Julia and Henry, two pairs of lovers bound by fate, torn apart by lies, and trapped in the cruel web of family expectations. The trailer makes one promise above all else, that episode 7 will hurt. It will tear at our emotions, it will leave us questioning the very possibility of happiness in this world, and it will remind us that Blood of My Blood is not a story about fairy tale endings, it is a story about the cost of love, the weight of betrayal, and the scars of survival. For fans of the Outlander saga, this is both familiar and devastating. The legacy of love and tragedy that defined Jamie and Claire now echoes in Julia, Henry, Ellen, and Brian. And just like before, it is impossible to look away, no matter how painful it becomes. As we step into episode 7, one thing is certain, nothing will be the same after this. The choices made here will ripple through every character, shaping not only their fates but also the generations that follow. Blood of My Blood is not afraid to break hearts, and with this episode, it may just break them beyond repair. For those who thought they were prepared, the trailer is a warning. Episode 7 will test every limit of hope, love, and loyalty. And when the credits roll, the only question left will be, how much more tragedy can these characters, and we as viewers, endure? When we look at episode 7 in the larger scope of Blood of My Blood, it becomes clear that this chapter is more than just a continuation of the plot, it is a turning point that redefines the entire series. Up until now, the show has been slowly building its foundation, weaving together the struggles of Julia, Henry, Ellen, and Brian. But with this episode, the ground beneath them shifts, and the tone of the series grows darker, more tragic, and far more intense. The heartbreak is not random, it is deliberate. Every painful twist serves a purpose, pulling the characters into choices that will echo for years to come. In many ways, episode 7 feels like the moment where innocence is lost and the cruelty of the world becomes undeniable. Julia's suffering represents the harsh reality of women caught in a web of power and control. Her forced marriage is not just about one man's obsession, it is about the system that silences her, a reminder that survival often comes at the cost of freedom. Her quiet strength in the face of humiliation is both inspiring and tragic, a mirror to the countless women in history who endured the same. Episode 7 does not just test Julia's spirit, it breaks it, reshaping her into someone hardened by loss, yet still determined to protect her child. She is the heart of this story, and her pain becomes the audience's pain. Henry, on the other hand, becomes a symbol of how easily love can be twisted into despair. His inability to see the truth about Julia reflects the fragility of trust, and how lies can poison even the purest devotion. Watching him retreat into the shadows of the brothel, drowning himself in empty comfort, is both frustrating and heartbreaking. Yet, it also makes him deeply human. Henry's story reminds us that even those with the best intentions can falter, and that sometimes the weight of betrayal, real or imagined, is too much to bear. His downfall is not just about Julia, it is about the destruction of hope itself. Ellen and Brian's struggles, though quieter, feel like seeds of future tragedies. Ellen's isolation, her fear, and her desperation paint a picture of a woman on the edge of collapse. Brian's ignorance, his false sense of security, is equally dangerous. Together, their stories remind us that love without communication, without trust, cannot survive. The stolen letters are more than a plot device, they are a symbol of how easily happiness can be taken away, not by enemies on the battlefield, but by those closest to you. Episode 7 is not just about what happens now, it is about setting the stage for heartbreaks yet to come. The brilliance of this episode lies in its ability to tie personal pain into a larger legacy. Blood of My Blood is not just telling a story about individuals, it is crafting the mythology of a family, one that will shape generations. Just as Jamie and Claire's love became the beating heart of Outlander, the tragedies of Julia, Henry, Ellen, and Brian will define this prequel. Episode 7 is where their choices, their mistakes, and their sacrifices begin to leave marks that cannot be erased. It is the moment where history itself is written in heartbreak. As fans, we watch knowing that tragedy is coming, and yet we cannot turn away. That is the true magic of Blood of My Blood. It makes us feel the weight of every silence, every lost letter, every tear shed in the dark. Episode 7 will not give us the comfort of happy resolutions, but it will give us something far more powerful, a story that lingers, that hurts, and that reminds us why we fell in love with this saga in the first place. By the end of this episode, one thing will be certain, the world of these characters will never be the same again, and neither will we as viewers.